This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnocky and I'm here with Jess Perkins and Matt Stewart.
Oh, hi, Dave Warnocky. Nice to meet you. I'm Matt Stewart. Oh, he already knew.
That's right. I've looked at your resume and I'd like to offer you a job.
Oh, thank you. Won't let you down.
Thank you.
Fuck.
Well, there's no swearing at this workplace, so you're out.
No.
Does that mean I'm in?
You're in, Jess Perkins.
Yeah!
You were number two. I must say, I don't know why I brought both candidates in to show you, Jess, that Matt got the job.
Yeah, that was mean.
But it's actually worked out well for you.
It's embarrassing, though, because I did start to torch the place. And so there is a small fire just in that corner. I will go...
Nothing you can't take care of, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Are you going to let that slide? I've got an elderly dog to look for.
Well, you should get out there and look for it.
All right, well, I'll see you later.
An elderly dog to look for. It's not my dog.
No,
I just want to look at an elderly dog today. I woke up this morning and thought, God, I feel like looking at an elderly
having a little
dog.
look.
I need a location and an occupation. Dog looker. Okay. You ignored the location there.
At the dog lookout.
Dog shop.
Dog looker at the dog. Oh, my God. And scene. And that is how easy improv really is.
Hey, I've had this cool idea, Dave, and also Jess.
Thank you.
For next month, October, right? I want to do a thing where every topic we do is a banger. Kind of like the last 3 years.
Uh-huh.
But even more so, I want to call it Blockbuster Month.
Okay.
Okay.
Or, other working title, Blocktober Buster Month.
I just like Blocktober.
No,
I like Blocktober Buster Month.
Blocktober would be a month of episodes about Lego. And we've
Yeah.
already done that.
Been
Jess.
there, done
Been
that.
there, done that.
Thanks for nothing, Lego.
You really should have saved that topic for Blocktober.
So the idea is going to be that I'm going to put out a poll on our social media this afternoon, and it's going to ask so all listeners can click on this link and let us know what's your favorite kind of topic. So it's going to be mystery or serial killers or celebrity biographies or cryptoids.
Cryptoid, yeah. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, like the Bigfoots and the Mothmens.
Right. Yes, I also knew what a cryptoid was immediately. I was finally they mentioned cryptoids.
We've done a few cryptoids in the past.
Yes,
they've been
I'm
really
aware.
popular.
Yes.
We also did
Loch Ness Monster.
Loch Ness Monster, and I think there's one other, but I'm losing it right now. But so there'll be a list of probably 15 or so different kinds of topics. And all you have to do as a listener is just click this link and then select what your favorite kind of topic is. And then next month, we'll pick the top three, or we won't pick them. The top three that get the votes will pick us. And then we're going to put those topics to our Patreons. So say, for instance, serial killers comes up. We'll put a handful of serial killers to our patrons. And then they get to vote on that, bringing it down to one single topic, and that'll be, say, week one of Blockbuster-tober. It's not quite right, is it?
No, but I appreciate that you're still trying.
And then the last week, so before the last one, will be our most requested ever topic, which I haven't figured out what it is yet, but I'm going to go back through the hat and find out what that is, and we will finish
with a banger.
Bangtober? Bangtober? No, that's not. Anyway, check out our social media. So on Instagram, it won't be on Instagram. You can't link there. It'll be on Twitter at DoGoOnPod, and it'll be on Facebook, which is facebook.com/DoGoOnPod. So go check that out, and I'll hopefully have that up shortly. And then, let us know what you think, and we're going to have it Bangarang. Banktober.
Because you can put these ideas in the bank.
In the bank. The Spank Bank.
Spank Banktober.
Okay, I'm going to go back to...
Blocktober.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Cocktober.
Okay.
No.
Cocktoberfest.
Oh, dear. Dave, are you all right?
There's no wrong ideas.
No, there's
Yeah,
some
there are.
Some...
That is a wrong idea.
Yeah.
Dave, you're wrong as. Sorry.
Super wrong.
You're wrong AF.
Yeah.
Now, if I
Sorry to
could-
go there, but Jess is 100% right. She's right AF.
I'm right AF.
Right AF over.
There's something wrong with him.
Oh, I love puns, but I'm bad at them.
I like how Dave came up out worse than me in that because it felt like
Yeah. You were
He-
definitely losing until he went
Mate,
to Cocktoberfest.
I just can't.
He flew home late.
I can't compete with the pun king, Matt Stewart. Now,
stop trying to make that a thing.
Wow, stop being so bloody good at puns.
stop saying so good, mate.
Stop saying so good, mate.
Look, I told you, talking's not as easy as you make it look.
Is there any update on our upcoming tour, Davey boy?
Well, at the end of Cocktoberfest's working title, that'll take us to Blowvember. November, when we are hitting up
And
the UK.
December.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. When we're hitting up the UK in November, and I'm very pleased to tell you that every single show is now sold out. Thank you so much, UK people, except for our second Birmingham show, which confusingly enough is the night before the first Birmingham show, on Thursday, November the 15th at 8 o'clock at the Glee Club. That's the only one with tickets, so if you want to get involved, make the trek to Birmingham, even if it's $2 down.
$2?
Yeah.
There's also, I think, some tickets left for Melbourne, our Bon Voyage show.
Come say
Yeah.
bon voyage.
If you want to come say Bon Voyage, you
If
should.
you want to contribute to the Snacks and Magnets Fund, that's fine. This is the time to do it.
We cleaned up, I'm distancing myself from this. Jess cleaned up big time in Sydney.
Did you get it? You got a couple of coins from countries we're not going to.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I welcomed foreign currency. So I did get some British pounds, which was very nice. Also got some Canadian dollars. Wow. So that's
That's
exciting.
the future. Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, the way this show works is we talk about a topic or something like that, and we get to that topic with a question. And this week, Dave is giving the topic or whatever.
Okay, I'm doing the whatever, and it's a long whatever, so let's get into it.
That's what Dave's sex tape will be called.
The long whatever. Hey, anything goes.
No bad ideas.
No bad ideas here.
Nah, let's go on then.
Come on, guys. Let us know if you want to call it Cocktoberfest. All right.
Blowvember. Honestly.
No, not bad. All right. Well, I've got a question to get us on to topic. And that, of course, is the report. I'm going to give a report on this topic, and you two don't know what it is. So my question is, what disintegrated over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida on January 28th, 1986?
86.
A good year.
Disintegrated.
Atlantic Ocean.
I'm taking over a good year, by the way. A very good year, 1986.
It just doesn't sound the same from you.
Damn it.
It sounds kind of lame.
Well, I think you're just hearing what we all
Okay,
heard.
try again.
1986. Oh, a good year.
Oh, yuck.
I went from lame to repulsive.
Yeah.
All right, 1986.
86.
What disintegrated?
I don't know. I wasn't alive.
I was a Mothman, or
It's not a Mothman. This is a...
was it a cryptoid?
No, it's not a cryptoid.
Is it a plane?
It's similar to a plane. This is a big disaster.
helicopter.
Big disaster from
Was
the
it a
80s.
gyroplane?
Was
No.
it a... We've already done a blimp one, so I don't know what else there could
It's
be.
another big disaster.
Was it a spaceship?
It is a spaceship of sorts. In 1986, disintegrating over the
A
Atlantic
UFO?
Ocean. Jess looks like she's about to get this.
Is it... No, I don't know.
Is it Roswell?
Is it an Apollo something?
It's not an Apollo thing, but it is a NASA thing. It is the Space Shuttle
Sputnik.
Challenger.
Challenger.
Have you heard of the
Yeah.
Yes.
Challenger Space Shuttle?
Oh, is this a sad topic, Dave?
Well, yes. But it's an extremely interesting one. I'd like to thank the suggester of this topic, Megan Rife, and this was also voted for by our Patreon supporters. There were 3 topics up for that. And Megan, they chose your topic. I'd also like to give a shout out to Will Manley, who suggested the topic of space shuttles in general.
Okay.
And I like to think I give a pretty good overview of all of it in the report. So hopefully this satisfies you too, Will.
He suggested space shuttles in general.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he said, when everyone thinks about them, they think that's pretty cool. But when you look into them, there's a few more problems. Wow. And I'm going to talk about one very big problem.
Oh, interesting.
Is
Maybe
it like an ethical problem? Or like a philosophical one?
Actually, probably both.
Wow.
Wow, okay.
Do you guys know anything about the Challenger?
I know how to spell it.
Nice one.
CHALLENG 78.
Do you want to tell him? Or?
Correct.
Yay, Maddie.
It's hard to tell someone that they're great.
It is hard.
It's hard to hear every day.
I'm jealous of how great you are.
And so you should be.
And also to you.
And so with you.
Okay, Dave, bring down the mood.
Here we go. Bring down the moon. That was their mission.
Oh.
Really?
I don't think that's true.
Oh, that's not true.
We heart moon. Us on Earth.
Yeah.
Earth heart moon.
If the moonlings are listening, we want them to know that we come in peace. We do it very, very quietly.
It's also the tagline for...
Oh, no, hang on.
It's also the tagline for Cocktoberfest, I'll tell you very much. We come in peace. All right.
This is no good.
All right, now let me... this bit's for you, Will. The history of the shuttle program early on. Now, during the 1950s, as the space race was heating up, reusable shuttle-like space planes were increasingly viewed as the United States' answer to being able to further explore space over their Soviet enemies. The idea was popularized by the so-called Von Braun paradigm, named after famous German rocket scientist and engineer
Greg Dixon.
Verna Von Greg Dixon. I mean...
He came up with a name so fast. Good job.
I love the low bar that has been permanently set for Jess, for me, in Jess's mind. Oh, he said a couple of words.
Oh.
And there were actual words this time.
Daesh.
So Verna Von Braun is basically the godfather of rocket ships, and very early on he laid out the steps of how the United States could dominate space.
And by godfather of rocket ships, he is a mobster.
That's right. He is a Marlon Brando when he's
Wow.
old, but still winning
Hot.
Oscars.
Still winning hot.
Nice. So according to the paradigm, space exploration should follow these steps. It's sort of like a how-to plan that he wrote out. He said, first of all, to put a human in space, this is what you got to do. Develop a reusable spacecraft, making access to space cheaper and easier. Use this vehicle to build a space station. Then inhabit the space station and employ it as a base from which to launch manned expeditions to the moon and later Mars. Simple.
Okay.
That was his plan. NASA basically used this as their blueprint and went to work. But then the Soviets got both the first satellite, Sputnik,
Thank you.
and the first person, Yuri Gagarin, into space. So they decided to skip a few steps and instead focus on putting a person on the moon, which I did an early report on. Episode 7 was all about Apollo 11 and the moon landing.
Episode 7.
I know, it's a long time ago now, isn't it?
If you'd asked me if we'd done the moon landing on the podcast, I'd go, I don't think so.
Really?
Episode 7. This is episode 100 and what?
51.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember
Because
all
it
of them.
sounded like you were surprised that it was so long ago, but it turns out you were just surprised.
Yeah, I just forgot it.
Seven.
Have
It
we?
happened at all.
I also talked about Verna Von Braun, aka Greg Dixon, on that episode as well.
Yeah,
Dicko.
obviously, I remember his name well.
Braun.
Greggy Dix.
Invented the electric shaver.
And
certainly
discovered
did.
penicillin?
Yeah.
Yes, they all discovered penicillin.
Yeah.
It was a team effort.
In a way, didn't we all discover
Yeah.
penicillin?
I know I
Yes.
did.
Hmm?
Big time.
It's
Do
your
it
claim to fame.
Every morning, I rediscover penicillin in myself.
Wow.
Where are you putting it?
Are you all right?
I'm very sick.
So as we all know, the moon landing was a success in 1969, but then after that, NASA needed a new direction.
1969.
69.
Nice.
1969. President Richard Nixon had established a space task group to help determine NASA's next phase. In September of that year, the group delivered its report, which recommended going back to the Von Braun paradigm, which, remember, is build a reusable shuttle, create a space station, from there do several trips to the moon, and then basically then go to Mars. Nixon didn't like it. So
Okay.
basically, he asked for a report. They gave it to him and he went, I don't like that. That costs way too much money.
Right.
And NASA had just had their budget slashed. In 1966, when they were gunning for the moon, NASA's budget was 4.4% of the entire budget for the United States of America.
Wow.
So billions and billions of dollars. But by the early 70s, they no longer had this kind of money being thrown at them. So it was decided that NASA would focus on one standalone element of the paradigm, and that is reusable space shuttles. These shuttles wouldn't go exploring into space, but rather go into orbit around the Earth and could help build space stations and repair stuff and take up satellites and other things that went into orbit. So President Richard Nixon officially announced the existence of the Space Shuttle program in January 1972.
A good year.
See, it sounds so stupid from him, doesn't it?
No, but it's really, Jess, you're pretty much putting your catchphrase up into the public domain if you're not going to use it. Matt is just trying to...
I'm not going to just throw it around willy-nilly.
Okay.
All right, well, I got a few more dates coming up, so you've got a few chances.
Okay.
I'll show you how it's done.
NASA got to work designing and producing these shuttles. The first shuttle made its maiden flight in 1977. Pause. Nothing. Okay.
A good year.
Yeah. It was originally planned to be named Constitution because it was unveiled on Constitution Day, September 17th, 1976.
No good. Next, what else they got?
Well, instead, they got a massive letter campaign from fans of Star Trek.
Oh, my God.
They convinced the White House and President Gerald Ford to name the shuttle the Enterprise after the ship on Star Trek.
Oh, wow.
It's got tens of thousands of letters. And I guess wanting to go for the popular vote, he went, Constitution sucks. Let's just call it the Enterprise.
Constitution is a dud name.
It
Too many
sucks.
letters. It's
Enterprise,
like,
nice and snappy. Nice short word. What is that, 3-4 letters? I like it.
Enterprise, 3 syllables.
3.
Constitution, 4. Fuck
Ugh.
off.
I had a nap in the middle. How many was it?
Oh, too many S's.
That's
too.
at least 4 letters.
No good.
So the nerds named it Enterprise, which I love.
Gerald Ford's no nerd. Haven't you seen him on The Simpsons? He's Homer.
Do you like
Do you like beer?
nachos?
Do you like nachos? Would you like to come over to my place to watch the game and have beer and nachos?
He's cool.
You and I are going to get on just fine. Am I remembering that right at all?
That's absolutely right.
Great.
Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry and some of the show's cast attended the
The
Enterprise.
G-Rod
The G-Rod. They attended the Enterprise's debut.
or Grod.
Debut.
It was on debut. The Enterprise itself was never intended to go into space. Instead, it was a prototype, and essentially it was an unpowered glider. So they just attached it to a modified Boeing 747 and towed it around. So if you got to fly that one, I suppose the nerds were probably like, we probably should have saved Enterprise for the next one that actually goes to space. Damn. Oh well.
Too bad, nerds.
Well, the next one was Columbia. That was good. Something like that.
Don't know.
That was the first space-worthy orbiter, and it made its inaugural flight in 1981. It's the 90s. I mean, the 80s.
181.
It's hip. It's
That's
happening.
a good year.
Oh, did St Kilda lose some sort of football match in that year?
Yeah, 80s were horrible for the
Oh,
Saints.
really?
Yeah, real bad time.
I mean, apart from that one glorious year in the 60s, has there ever been any other good period?
yeah, but the problem is our next best periods have been still losing periods, but pretty close. Like our next best period was probably the start of this decade or end of last decade when we had 2 losing grand finals. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was at both. Doesn't matter.
Oh, hit a nerve.
Oh, sorry.
Ooh, our room just got real icy. Matt's crying.
The boys. It's tragic. I wish I cared about anything that much. Anything. Give me something.
Me?
Facts?
Ooh, facts. Jess, sorry.
Wow. Nah, fair.
Choose facts over Jess. I mean,
Yeah, okay. We all choose facts over Jess.
it's a fact of life, which I like. The next shuttle that flew was the one that we're going to talk about today, the Challenger.
I like the Challenger.
Yeah.
Challenger.
Yeah,
3.
underdog. I like writing that into the name.
Yeah.
Now, all of this...
Not that-
Took me a sec to get it. I was like, huh?
Others would be like going, let's call ourselves the best ever or the champ.
The victory.
Yeah. The Challenger. Like that.
I love that.
Yeah, they called it the underdog.
Yeah. Let's have a crack.
The have a crack.
Let's see how this goes.
have a crack.
Have a crack at space.
Fine.
All of the space shuttles were named after influential ships of science and exploration. Challenger was named after the British naval research vessel, the HMS Challenger, that sailed around the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean during the 1870s. And Challenger was the second operational shuttle, and it made its first flight on April 4th, 1983.
A good year.
You do it so much
That was
better. That was
so
so
good.
good.
See?
Oh my God.
It felt so natural. I even nearly moved on before I remembered, hang on,
Exactly.
the Jess evolved.
And Matt did a whole build-up. He said, and like he lifted out of his chair.
Like he was going for a mark.
Yeah,
Something that
come
St
on,
Kilda
mate.
often try but fail.
Too many up. Something they did all year. Who's down? Who's roving?
Stay down.
One of you stay down in case it spills. Anyway.
They're all jumping. Imagine that. Every player, even if they're 50 metres away from the ball, they jump.
It was pretty close.
Yeah, they're a team.
Yeah, beautiful.
They do things as a team. We could do a little bit more of that, to be honest.
Yeah, let's all jump for the same line next time.
Okay.
Now, do you think anyone actually gave a shit about the shuttles?
Yes. No.
By the mid-1980s...
Maybe?
By the mid-1980s, the American general public had really lost interest in
No,
space.
then. No. My answer is no. Did I win?
We could call next month Shuttlecocktober.
That's good.
Eh? We do all episodes about badminton. 4 of the big badminton champs.
Ooh, name one.
Nominate your top 3 badminton players.
Ugh, how do I choose?
Greg Dixon sounds like a badminton player.
Oh, he'd be in there for sure. Simon Badminton Connell. That is about as niche as you'll ever get. He was a journeyman footballer in the 90s called Simon Minton Connell. Oh boy, can you edit that out, please?
No.
And
Leave that in all its mess.
Oh, we'll be turning the volume up on that bit just so it stands out.
In fact, could you just replay it a few times?
if anyone listening understood that, please tweet me and say I'm okay. Otherwise, I may not go on. Do go on.
Oh, I see. Thank
Next
God.
week's
Yeah.
episode.
Well, I made a reference like that last week in our 150th episode in front of a room full of hundreds of people, and I heard it not be understood by that many people, so that's brutal.
What was that?
I made a reference to, Matt talked about the New World Order, NWO, and I said, I remember them from the wrestling in the 1990s.
No, I reckon there was 1% of the crowd who got that. 3 people.
Yeah, thank you so much
seem
to
to be on
those
board.
3 people.
They didn't laugh, but they got it.
Yeah, they went, very good.
Yeah, they did that sort of exhale laugh, like a. No, that's too much. They got a heart. It's just
sorry,
like a. You know?
Did a bit of nose action.
I mean, it could have been someone just sniffing. That's how silent it was. I heard someone sniffing in the back right corner of the venue. Anyway, by the 1980s, the American general public had lost interest in space. And this actually is... This plot line is mirrored on the episode of The Simpsons, if you recognise this. They decided that they would recapture the interest of the nation by sending the first private citizen into space.
Right.
Remember on The Simpsons where they put Barney and Homer battle it out and then
Yeah.
Homer goes into space?
Oh, I remember
Because
Homer
Barney has
eating.
a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, it begins.
I remember Homer eating chips in space. Yes.
Oh, it's a blue Danube. Beautiful. Beautiful scene. To capture the attention of the general public, they decided to launch the Teacher in Space project.
Yep.
Just doesn't really like teachers, I'm getting from that. Oh, I've had some bad experiences with those people.
Yeah. Haven't we all?
No.
And many good.
Only had good teachers.
Respect the profession.
Oh, I
immensely.
respect that. I come from a family of teachers.
Me too. It's hard work.
Me
Bloody hard work.
3.
Yeah. I got a lot of.
Look at us all. We shunned the teaching profession and instead started podcasting.
I mean, in a way, are we not tooting right now?
Tooting?
Yeah, two-ton.
2 tons, son. 2 tons.
Two-ton.
All right, that's 6 Simpsons references early.
All right, well, there's a few more coming. The Teacher in Space project, or the TISP.
Ooh, don't like that.
Oh, neither do I.
TISP.
TISP is a NASA program announced by President Ronald Reagan in 1984. So started by Nixon, went to Gerald Ford, now on to Reagan. So
Ray.
the presidents are really handballing this to
Was
each
he ever
other.
called Ray?
Not that I've heard, but
If
I like
not,
it.
why not?
Ron Ray? I like it.
Similar, but not as good.
I like both.
What about Ronald Reagan? Was he referred to as that?
Several times.
Ah, sucked in, Matt. I win.
So Ron Ray, not playing favourites, announced the TISP in 1984, and it was designed to inspire students, honour teachers, and spur interest in mathematics, science, and space exploration. The project would carry teachers into space as payload specialists, which is just a fancy term for non-astronaut civilians.
Payload
payload specialist. So when a shuttle
like
goes into space, what they're carrying up is called the payload. So it might be a satellite or whatever. Whatever's in the trunk is the payload.
Right. Do shuttles have trunks?
Well, they got a bit that opens up.
They got a little boot?
It's quite a big boot.
That is cute.
Cute boot.
I had to fit a rug in my tiny car the other day, and it fit.
A rug.
Yeah.
That is a story and a half.
Quite a long rug, thanks very much.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy, I have a small car. Put the seats down, no bloody problem. Anyway, so I get it.
How have you saved that anecdote for 25 minutes in?
Yeah, I'm humble,
Were you calling it your payload?
obviously.
Because they say drop
And I
your
was like-
payload, I always thought it meant like a bomb, but it means just whatever you're holding.
I thought it meant poop.
Drop your payload.
Gotta go drop my payload.
Who's
no
yelling that at you?
Matt hates it.
Who's telling people to drop their payloads, Matt, that you've seen?
In the cinemas. I watched
like as in-
the recent
oh.
Mission Impossible. They used the term payload.
In a film, not just somebody saying that in a cinema.
Yes.
As they walk in there eating popcorn. So I dropped my payload on the weekend. Matt's eavesdropping.
He's very rude. He always eavesdrops.
Anyway,
He drops Eve.
the plan of the test was that these non-astronaut civilians would go into space. They would return to their classrooms to share their experience with their students, inspiring the nation. NASA wanted to find a, quote, ordinary person, a gifted teacher who could communicate with students whilst in orbit.
Okay, ordinary or gifted? Because I'm getting mixed messages.
That's
Yeah.
the same, but it's the same press release. Badly written. Ray, what are you doing?
So just a normal, everyday person.
With extreme gifts.
Yeah.
Extreme.
So like,
He's like, can we someone put extreme in red? Is that too hard to do?
make that bold and size 14.
It's just a colour flyer. I think it should be. Whatever you say, Mr. President.
God, it'd be good to be the president.
Oh,
Wouldn't it?
imagine.
A lot of pressure.
That'd be real fun. Except I don't like the Oval Office because I hate ovals. It's kind of like a circle that fucked up.
Yeah.
Give me a circle office.
Yeah, I reckon, I mean, as president, you'll be able to change
Do you
that.
reckon?
You can redecorate anything you like.
Mm,
They always do that.
You're all powerful, I believe.
that's true.
But I don't think Australians can be American
Oh,
president.
that'd be
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry.
Fuck.
sorry.
It is brutal to find out this way,
Yeah.
if I can be honest.
And
Can
you
I be-
Yeah, you can be.
Can I be the president of this podcast and snack captain at the same
I'm
time?
so sorry. In the Constitution, it says no Jesses.
What? That's so
sorry.
specific.
I know.
What are the chances? There's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
And my name's Jess,
Oh.
which is only an incredibly popular name
Yeah.
from the 80s to 90s, which is when I was born.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, this is such a devastating day.
Yeah. But
Oh, wow. I can't be the president.
yeah, you
can't be the
also. I
president.
mean, you helped write the Constitution.
You really shouldn't have put your name on it.
You know I was hungry when we were doing that. I wasn't paying attention.
I know, there was no snack jug back then.
Yeah, snacks. All right, Dave, carry on. I'm just going to sit here and be depressed for a bit.
So the search was on to find an ordinary but gifted person. More than 40,000 applications were mailed to interested teachers, while 11,000 teachers sent completed applications to NASA. So 29,000 of them said, yeah, give me the pamphlet, and then never bothered filling it out.
Nah. Space. Nah. I'm just gonna go down to Florida instead.
I don't know that I would fill it out. I'd be too scared.
I'd fill it out.
I don't
I'd-
want to go to space.
That's in that kind of scenario. I'll fill it out. If they ask me, I'll think about it then.
Right, yeah, because you can always pull out later.
Well,
Nah, you've committed now. You're going to space.
Yeah, even though they've got hundreds of people that want to go, they somehow pick the person that's like, please don't make me go. Please.
Sounds
No.
like the start of a great 80s movie.
Here we go, strap him in. Each application included a potential lesson that would be taught from space whilst on the space shuttle. The applications were sorted and then sent to various state departments of education, who were then responsible for narrowing down their applicants to a final set of 2 each. These applicants were notified of their selections and were garnered together for further selection processes before they were whittled down to 10 grand finalists. These were then trained for a time at NASA, and in 1985, NASA selected Christa McAuliffe to be the first teacher in space.
Krista.
A backup teacher, Barbara Morgan, was also chosen.
okay. So they
Much like
narrowed,
the Homer to her Barney.
Right.
they narrowed it down to 10 and then picked one. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, and then
And
the
Barbara.
second one as a backup.
Yes.
So Christa McAuliffe is the one that's been chosen. NASA hoped that sending a teacher into space would increase public interest in the Space Shuttle program and also demonstrate to the world the reliability of spaceflight at a time when the agency was under continuous pressure to find financial support. Really, this mission was designed to resurrect the entire program and prove that the shuttle could become a routine bus-like service to space.
Okay.
So they're like, even an ordinary person can do this. This is the future.
But bus-like, so what? Inconsistent and unreliable.
Yeah. Hey.
Take that, PTV.
Overpriced and smelly, yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Waving at the drivers of other
Oh, no, I love that
shuttles as
bit.
they pass.
Oh, I love when
It's
kids
so
wave.
cute. No, I like it when the bus drivers wave to each other. It's so cute.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the passengers.
What
I
about
would
when?
never talk about the passengers.
What about when people on motorbikes wave to each other? That's cute. They should do a little nod. A little nod. It's fun.
I drive the same vehicle as
Like,
you.
boop, hello. We should do that more often, I reckon. There should be more, like a solidarity between.
I wave at every car I see. It's very tiring. Really get away. Most people look at you like,
You've had
is there something on my face?
many accidents.
Yeah, because I do both hands. My hands are barely on the wheel.
Wow, Dave, you are not driving in the UK, Matt. Can we?
Yeah.
I'll be in charge of waving in the UK.
And I'm in charge of snacks, so I guess Matt's got to drive.
Snack captain, driver, and waving captain. Hello.
You can
Hello.
Be, you can be driving, Captain. Do you like that?
Okay, yeah.
Like that?
Captain of
Could
the
I be
drivers.
driving vice captain?
Okay.
Yeah. Junior vice captain?
You can be whatever you want to be.
Do you reckon that teacher is the one if you're
No.
trying to get the surely it's like NFL player or
Yeah.
or like
Sure.
you know
Like Madonna or something.
send like 80s Donald Trump up there. You know, someone obviously not modern day Donald Trump. It would have been a logistical nightmare to get him back 20 years in time before sending him up again. And plus he's president now. He's busy. I would have got someone from the 80s, number one, which they did do.
George Michael.
Entirely agree with them so far that they got a present day person. But I would have just gone for someone with a little more razzle and or dazzle. How about this?
Okay.
Darryl Strawberry
Oh,
from that episode of The Simpsons.
yeah.
Jesus.
Baseballer.
Yeah.
No, Jesus was my suggestion.
Oh, how about
Ooh.
Jesus?
Jesus.
I reckon
yeah.
that would have got a lot of press.
That would have got the press interested
Yeah.
for sure. Jesus' second coming and the first going to space. He's gone before, but this is his first time going to space.
He's okay, folks. Well, Matt, it's funny you should say that. The teacher won't capture the attention of the nation, but sending a teacher into space turned out to be a great PR move for NASA and led the Challenger to be the most anticipated space mission since the Apollo era and the moon landing 17 years earlier. It got the people talking.
Great.
Christa McAuliffe was born in Boston in 1948, and she was 37 years old at the time when she was chosen for the mission. She was a mother of two and a social studies teacher at Concord High School in New Hampshire. NASA official Alan Ladwig said, quote, she had an infectious enthusiasm. And NASA psychiatrist Terence McGuire told New Woman magazine that, quote, I mean, why are they talking to NASA psychiatrists? She was the most broad-based, best-balanced person of the 10 finalists.
Broad base, like physically?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She had
really
like
big
wide
feet.
shoes.
And as a psychiatrist, that's what I look for.
Very
Oh,
stable. Infectious big personality sounds like a nightmare on a shuttle.
and on a podcast.
Hello! Oh, God.
Oh god, she's back. Pretend we're not here. Pretend we're not here.
I was strapped in for the next 18 hours. No, she was good media talent. She spent 5 months training for the mission, doing a lot of, actual NASA training. She also went on many television shows to talk about the mission, turning into somewhat of a national celebrity. Her backup, Barbara Morgan, was also trained.
Barbara Morgan.
Didn't do as much PR.
Yeah, well, with a name like Barbara Morgan.
Yeah.
Barb.
Blah.
That is a real meat and 2 veg kind of.
Yeah, more
Not
like-
even 3 veg.
More like Blabra Borgan. Am I right? Blabra.
Oh,
Well,
tell me.
We're going to talk about Barbara later.
Oh no, Jess.
Don't beat yourself up. It's
I
actually...
enjoyed it though.
I know,
You
it was
what?
really
In the
fun until I
moment, it was
remembered that
fun.
maybe she was. She
Yeah,
doesn't
maybe
explode,
it's-
does she?
It's a good ending for Barbara.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about Barb.
Blabra.
Barbara is coming back in a big way. But let me get to that later.
Then I stand by Barbara Borgen.
Right now, we're talking about Christa McAuliffe, the number 1 draft pick, not number 2.
Number 1 banana.
She was. McAuliffe's planned duties included basic science experiments in the fields of
I'm imagining a training montage of her just like pouring different liquids into a beaker, and they go like, poof, and then the instructors behind her are like got a clipboard and they're just nodding.
Even though that every other NASA person is like the smartest scientist on the planet,
Yeah.
she's doing the most.
She's there doing like she's built a fake volcano.
She's put bicarb soda, and they're going.
Whoa.
Whoa.
She's like, I will somehow put this egg inside this bottle using only a candle. Whoa, there's no flames on board. Krista, whoa.
But I mean, I want to see you do it, so do it. But like, you can't do it on the shuttle.
They give it, they swap out the egg for powdered egg. And
Oh,
take the
get it
flame
in
away.
there.
You can try with this.
Yeah. And she still can't do it because of gravity. She's trying to. She's chasing the powder with a bottle. I'll get it, guys. I'll get it. Is this your card?
Oh, she does magic
That's magic. That is not maths.
or science, but it is wonderful.
Yes.
You're on.
She was also planning to conduct 2 15-minute classes from space, including a tour of the spacecraft called The Ultimate Field Trip. She'd already named it. And a lesson about the benefits of space travel called Where We've Been, Where We're Going, Why. I love it. I love it so much.
I love that. See, when we have ideas on this podcast, we have a couple of other people to spitball with, and like Krista
McAuliffe?
No, I wasn't calling her. Cock.
Oh, sorry, I think you'd misremembered her name. I was like, geez, I've really misremembered this one.
Cocktober.
Cocktoberfest.
Yeah, like that's a bad idea, and we're here to say
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a bad idea.
I would never print that on a pamphlet.
Well, would you?
Again,
Okay.
I've learnt the lesson.
Let's not forget.
10,000. Let me know if you want one.
Nobody wants one.
I mean, I came up with a pretty good logo.
What is it, Dave?
It's R-rated. It's really R-rated.
R for rooster.
Yeah. Oh, lots of rooster. Oh, these lessons, these science lessons / magic tricks were planned to be broadcast to millions of school children via closed circuit TV.
Skype.
So basically, 80s Skype.
Yeah.
McAuliffe was to join 6 highly trained astronauts aboard the Challenger. They were... What? What are you laughing at? She's doing magic tricks and they're all like the smartest people in the world.
This is something completely unrelated. Please just move on.
I mean, it used to be a real achievement to break Jess, but now people that aren't even here are breaking her.
I just remembered something funny that I heard the other day.
I know. Now you're remembering other jokes from not on air.
That's Steve Martin. He really is a wild and crazy guy.
Why did he quit stand-up? He was so talented. So the 6 highly trained astronauts aboard the Challenger, as well as Christa McAuliffe, they were Francis Dick R. Scobie.
Dick ass.
No, Dick R. Scobie.
Dick ass.
Dick R. Scobie.
Okay.
He was
Dick Ascoby.
It's a beautiful name.
He's the commander leading the mission. A bit of respect.
Captain Dick. Commander Dick.
Captain Dick was 46 years old and had been to space once before, so a bit of experience. Michael J. Smith. Very boring name.
Michael Smith was already taken.
Is Michael Smith taken? Okay. Jay? Is that taken? Probably. He was a pilot on his launch debut. He was 40 years old.
It's got the same initials as me. I like them. Each initial better than the last.
M. Ooh.
M. Oh, that's a hot start. What do you got? J. Oh, that is very good.
Bring it home.
Oh, can you? Oh my God, please. S. Yes.
S for yes.
I spell things backwards.
Next up, we had Ronald McNair, mission specialist.
I was going to say that's the best, but it's the second best.
McNair after McCare.
McCare. What a legend.
McNair?
McNair, very good.
Very good. He'd been to space once before, 35 years old. Before the mission, he had worked with composer Jean-Michel Jarre. Do you know him, the French composer? I'm probably saying that very wrong. On a piece of music for Jarre's then upcoming album, Rendezvous. It was intended that he would record his saxophone solo on board the Challenger, which would have made McNair's solo the first original piece of music to ever be recorded in space.
Wow.
Can you play an instrument in space?
Yes.
Wow.
I imagine if he sucked.
What's that, Dave?
A terrible saxophone solo.
Oh, what's a good one sound like?
Sounded like a banjo.
I think a good one sounds like this.
I knew you were going to do that too.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
my first option was.
Yeah.
I mean, Baker Street and Careless Whisper. If you're a saxophone busker,
Yeah.
good luck to you because they're the two songs people.
Saxophonist.
The other one is, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, Dave, just look at his mouth while he does it. It's so strange because it's so open. You see his tongue waggling around.
That sounds a bit like Mr. Bean having a heart attack.
Yes. Into a saxophone.
He needs help.
Tequila.
We've also got Ellison Onizuka,
Another cracking name.
mission specialist, 39 years old, had been to space on the Discovery Shuttle, so a bit more experience.
So it seems like you have to be sort of middle-aged-ish to get into space. Is that? I guess it's the kind of thing you've got to study for
so
a
most
long
Have
time.
experience.
Yeah, most of the people have either been in the Air Force and studied science, usually both.
Right.
And so that's sort of the background. So you have to be pretty experienced. The other person was Judith Resnick, 36 years old, mission specialist from Akron, Ohio, which I've definitely mispronounced again. Resnick was the second American female astronaut in space, so she'd already been there before, logging 145 hours in orbit. And finally, Gregory Jarvis, payload satellite specialist. First trip to space for this 41-year-old engineer.
Interesting.
That's great.
So basically, they're all 36 to 46.
All the experience and everything obviously outweighs any sort of physical benefits of being younger, if there are any.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, they're all still, you'd say, prime lifetime.
Yeah, totally. I say
Or
middle-aged, but it's pre-middle-aged.
Yeah, so most are in their 30s, and then the more experienced, like the commander's 40s. He's the oldest, but I suppose the most experienced.
For some reason, I just never really thought about that. For most things that are physical like that, they will go for younger people, but it's the kind of thing you can't. They're not plucking people out as kids like elite sports people get trained from when they're 6 or 4 or something.
So by the time they're, 19, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
They're ready for space.
Isn't that what space camp's all about? Have you heard of that? There's something in America called
It sounds fun.
Space
I don't know
camp.
what it is, but I like it. I want to
Yeah.
go. Am I too old?
What's your
Probably.
favourite planet?
Saturn's the obvious one because it's got the big ring. Uranus is the classic.
Now you make me feel like an idiot because Saturn's my favourite.
No, Saturn's amazing.
I think
Most
it's a great one.
I think I like Jupiter.
But now I feel like it's a
Huge.
bit cliched.
No, I don't know if it is cliched because Mars would have its fans as well.
Yeah, no, I'm a Saturn girl myself.
I reckon in the end, I know it's a bit vanilla, but I'm
Here
going
we
to say
go.
Earth.
Knew it was coming. Knew it was coming.
His favourite ice cream, vanilla. Favourite planet,
French
this
vanilla.
one.
I like everything where France is.
Yeah, he's-
Earth, French vanilla.
Anywhere else?
Well, I mean, give me another topic and I'll tell you my favourite.
Country.
French.
Anything French.
French France.
Favorite food?
Probably French.
Here we go.
There's got to be someone here.
Here we go. Pun King. All right. Warming up.
Here we go. French fajitas.
All right. Alliteration. Well improvised. People love that.
I knew there must have been an F food.
All right. I thought I'd take a second to save Matt there and very briefly explain how the space shuttle is supposed to take off. This is for you again, Will. The space shuttle consists of 3 main parts. If you look at it, you've got 2 solid rocket boosters. These are long white tubes on either side of the shuttle, critical for launch. They provide 71% of the thrust needed to get off the ground.
Thrust.
Are these... Oh, Matt's thrust. Oh, stop. Stop. He's thrusting into the mic. Can you hear that?
I want to go.
I mean, is that... I suppose between the two of you, that's 71% of the thrust on this podcast.
We're too old for that.
I mean, I think I started thrusting at our live show last week and I was told to stop, so...
Not in public, Dave.
Come on, Dave. Did you thrust? God, I don't remember much of that show.
No.
I think I blacked out.
It was after I sat like I was in a yoga position.
Oh,
like
yes,
meditating,
that's right, yes.
But it hurt my hips so badly to get, sort of
Yeah,
pop
that's
them out.
right.
Yeah, you did the French dog, didn't you?
Yeah, the downward French dog.
Yeah.
Ooh la la,
Rah.
as the French say. Right.
We had one of our great listeners from Sydney, Dan Barley, is a yoga master.
A yogi.
A yogi. And I spoke to him after the show and he said your form was pretty good.
Myself.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
I mean, we were just talking about you doing yoga.
Sorry, but I looked away to get my drink bottle and then he said you and I'm like, I don't want to be too arrogant here. But I'm pretty sure he's talking about my form. Who else could he be talking about? Who else has good form? I didn't know Dan was into yoga and I didn't know that he spoke about me, so thank you very much.
I mean, I could have told you this later, I suppose, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Or
since
Dan.
you brought it up.
Yeah. Since I asked, did anyone compliment me after the show? Anyway, 2 solid rocket boosters, 71% of the thrust. They're long white tubes. The tubes are reusable and break off and are intended to land in the ocean where they're collected and they can go again,
Oh, that's cool.
which is pretty amazing.
That's nice.
Because the solid rocket boosters are solid rocket engines, once they are ignited, they cannot be shut down. So therefore, they're the last component to light at launch. Basically, you've got to be very sure that you're going to lift off when you start these engines up. Because once they get going, they do not stop.
Much like our thrusting.
Yeah. All right.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Until I fall into the ocean
Yeah.
and get collected.
I'll get scooped up and I'll start the thrust again.
They thrusted off your chair there.
Worth it.
In the middle of all of this is the external fuel tank. Orange in colour, it carries fuel for the launch, and it carries a shitload of fuel.
How much?
The fuel is liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. It is 158 feet or 48 metres long, so it's huge, and holds 1.6 million pounds or 719,000 kilograms of propellant with a total volume of about 526,000 gallons or 2 million litres of fuel.
That's too many.
Only the last one there was around number 2, Jess.
Yeah. I like 2
I like how we
million
finished
litres.
there because there was a lot of awkward
You were gonna
Jess numbers in
you were gonna get
between.
back.
Thank you.
Fuel is burnt at an incredibly fast rate once it gets going. It's equivalent to emptying a family-sized swimming pool every 10 seconds of fuel. So it burns 4,000 litres of fuel every second.
A family sized. Yeah. Thanks for putting in our terms that we all understand in the affluent East.
Yeah, sorry. It's more like 50 butler's pantries full of fuel. Is that good? Did you get that? One of those?
What about people who don't have any of these fancy things?
Oh, okay. It's something like probably 100,000 backyard swimming pools.
I know. I something that I grew up.
Oh, okay.
with
It's
in my house.
100 Datsun cars from the 1970s.
Yes.
Fuel tanks burnt every second.
280Bs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
No, 120Y.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Great.
I also understand that.
Did you have one of those growing up?
No.
No, we were a Falcon family.
Oh, should have said that.
Big Mazda family in my house.
XC, 1978 Ford Falcon, built Ford Tough.
Have you probably held on to that? Probably worth money now.
I found out relatively recently. My dad took it to his school. He's a teacher as for their mechanics class, and I'm like, when they're done with it, let me know. I'm going to come pick it up. He said it'll be there whenever you want to come get it. And then I mentioned it to him. He's retiring later this year. I'm like, when should I come get the car? And he said, oh, that was scrapped long ago.
Oh my!
Real heartbreak.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Anyway, I'll find a similar car to that one day when I got the time.
Well, you just for years thought it was just sitting there waiting for
really.
you, never mentioning it.
And it was going to be in tip-top shape because all those students had
all those
worked on it.
Awesome mechanics from year 10.
My dad is not sentimental at all.
Good to know. But what a mustache on him.
Yeah, great mo.
I was thinking about your dad the other day. Don't know why. Don't remember the context now. But I just remember I was like, that mustache. Bloody great. Anyway, Dave, do go on.
It's bloody good stuff, that Mo. It really is.
You did say at the start of this that this was a long report. I'm sorry that we're derailing
I've
you.
just accidentally closed my document. And can you tell I'm stalling?
Oh, okay. Matt, thrust again.
Thrusting saxophone.
God, that's gross.
The studio's falling apart. They can't handle your sexual magnetism.
Turn the thrust booster up to 71%.
Oh, yeah. All right, found my place. Just a few more facts because it's one of the coolest things ever built. The engines have a combined output of 37 million horsepower, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's a lot of horses.
That's heaps.
How many horses are there in the world, Dave? Just quickly.
I'd say in the billions.
And how many?
37 million are killed to power this machine.
Wow.
Wait, is that what that means?
Yeah, how many horses have died to make this go?
Oh, boy. And you were saying there were some ethical problems.
That's number one, baby.
Yeah, killing so many horses.
Sounds like even more than the Australian racing industry. Or similar amount, probably. 37 billion? Can we get sued for...
Allegedly.
There we go. Saved it.
To achieve orbit, the shuttle must accelerate from 0 to a speed of almost 29,000 kilometres per hour.
No, too fast.
Or 18,000 miles per hour, which is a speed 9 times as fast as the average rifle bullet. That's how fast this thing has to travel.
Wow.
It's kind of hard to imagine how quick that is. I was doing 100 on the way here on the freeway thinking, this is pretty quick. It's 290 times that speed.
Could you put it into sort of a measurement that I could remember from my childhood?
Okay, it's kind of like throwing Voltron really fast. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I understand that. Wow. Throwing
fast.
Voltron really fast.
It's like throwing Voltron down the stairs, but there's like a million stairs. Whoa. And each stair, it doubles in speed.
Wow.
And
Okay.
And at the bottom, Hey, it's Saturday's playing.
Darryl's there?
Darryl's there.
Darryl, Molly? Is Red?
The whole gang.
Wow.
The whole
Even
gang.
Wilbur Wilde?
He played the sax.
He sure did. Did he?
He played the shit out of that
He really
sax.
did.
Hell yeah.
He was the best thing in that show, I reckon.
Do you reckon?
Wilbur, yeah.
All right, that's 2 out of the 3 things that I've explained. Finally, so, there's the rocket boosters, there's the fuel tank in the middle, then finally there's the orbiter, which is the main shuttle part that carries astronauts and their payload, remember, a satellite or whatever. Mm-hmm. The plan is that when their mission is over, they land using the orbiter's wings on a specifically built runway. Basically, it glides to Earth like a giant plane. So he doesn't come down on a parachute like the Apollo mission and crash into the ocean. It's actually got to land like a plane, which is amazing because it's traveling so fast. The whole thing weighs 4.5 million pounds or 2 million kilos and needs to get between 115 to 400 miles or 185 to 650 kilometers above the Earth. So with this much fuel and so many millions of tiny actions, there is obviously a lot that can go wrong. But up until this point, nothing had ever gone wrong.
Don't like those odds.
The Challenger had a good history and was considered the most reliable of all of the shuttles at the time. Since debuting 2.5 years earlier, it had flown 40% of all the shuttle missions.
40%?
So it was like their go-to shuttle.
Yeah, their numero uno.
This flight, which is called STS-51L, was Challenger's 10th mission and the 25th shuttle mission overall. So at this point, Challenger had sent 51 astronauts into space on 9 trouble-free flights, so they had no reason to worry. Been there, done that. On this flight, the Challenger's mission was to deploy a data relay satellite and a satellite to examine the approaching Halley's Comet. The other main focus of the mission was to get Christa McAuliffe into space, where she would, of course, conduct live educational broadcasts from the shuttle and transmit them to classrooms around the world.
Can you imagine how shit that broadcast would have been, though?
Well, it would have been
like even
in the 80s.
Today, it would be a bit crappy, probably.
What, the broadcast quality?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the 80s.
Standard definition.
Ugh.
80s era of MTV. Other, the TV show, Good. Hey, it's Saturday. The Simpsons debuted.
You're looking to us to help. We were not alive in the 80s.
Right. Sorry, mate.
Dave?
Sorry.
Jess?
He's younger than me.
Dave? Why are you commenting on it then? Like you said it was no good, but it sounds like you have no direct experience there. Just taking pot shots from the future.
Yep.
Well.
What? Come at me, 80s. What's it going to do? What's it going to do?
Gordon Gekko, ever heard of him?
No.
There's a lot of money around back then. Musicians could make a real big living back then. Think about that. The internet hadn't ruined the careers of musicians.
Dave, do go on.
Okay. That seems to be pretty jaded by an industry that he never even tried to be in. All right, so we're finally ready for takeoff. The takeoff was originally scheduled to take off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on January 22nd, but was delayed 6 times due to bad weather, bad crosswinds, equipment failure, and technical issues. Mm-hmm. It's not a great start. And because there is so much interest in this mission, pressure was really starting to build for NASA to get this thing off the ground. Finally, on January 28, almost a week after its original schedule, it looked like Challenger was ready to go. Thousands of people travelled to Florida to watch the shuttle take off, and it was big news around the world. Forecasts for January 28, however, predicted an unusually cold morning, with temperatures close to -1 degrees Celsius, or 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the absolute minimum temperature permitted for launch.
Oh, don't go at the absolute minimum.
The shuttle was in fact never certified to operate in temperatures that low, and the next coldest condition they'd ever operated in was much warmer, up to 10 degrees warmer.
That's quite a difference.
The weather was so cold the launch pad was covered in sheets of ice 7.5 centimetres or 3 inches thick.
Whoa.
And again, no shuttle had ever launched in such freezing conditions.
I mean, I got to say, before I go on, I'm not a scientist.
Thank you for clarifying. Yep.
Okay. Because what I'm going to say is going to sound pretty scientific. Mm-hmm. And I don't want anyone to be confused.
Okay.
But that seems too cold. There, I said, I'm sorry.
Hey, don't apologise.
I didn't understand a word of that.
So scientific.
But I assume it was very clever.
Yes.
Much like a scientist.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
Now, it wasn't just scientists like Matt here, so I believe, were concerned. There were concerns from some of the engineers that the weather was too cold, and they were concerned mainly about the O-rings and the solid rocket boosters, the big white tubes on either side.
Tell me, what rings aren't O-shaped? Okay. Sorry to chuck science back in your face there, but...
Wow.
Yeah.
Saturn.
That's so much better than my comment of, onion rings. I call them O-rings. I don't, but I'm going to now.
They're nice, onion rings.
I love onion rings.
I do too.
Aww.
Let's get them.
Yeah. Let's get them. Jump cut to us beating up onion rings.
Cut that onion ring.
And then all high-fiving.
Woo! We sure showed them. And then we all feel a bit remorseful.
As we're like eating them, we're weeping.
I'm so sorry.
So sorry. Greg,
Onion
Gary,
ring.
the boys.
Greg and Gary and the boys. Jeff, Gerald, Gareth.
Guys, it's 2018, okay? Onion rings can be girls.
Oh, Geraldina.
Thank you.
What was that name?
Geraldina.
Geraldina.
Oh, so close to Geraldine, a real name. So close.
Oh, nearly.
I was thinking of Spirulina. One of those
beautiful names.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to talk a bit about O-rings because they're very important in this story. So the engineers are concerned about the O-rings and the solid rocket boosters. They're the ones with the 71% thrust on either side of the big boys, the bad boys, the reusable things.
Don't make me get up.
The big boys.
These reusable long tubes were made up of 4 sections that were put together on the launch site and held together by joints.
Marijuana cigarettes, am I right? Blaze it. 420 somewhere, am I right?
Blaze it. Let's go to the moon, baby.
Hey, let's get jazzed.
You were smoking 2 joints there.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, you know. It's not cool, kids.
I just let that sink in. Really makes you think about how uncool marijuana is.
Marijuana cigarettes.
I'll never touch a marijuana leaf again. I've touched so many leaves.
Yeah, get your hands off those leaves, Dave.
I like to put them in between a big thick book, make them real flat. Cop that marijuana.
Yeah, like your future will be.
Yeah.
Flat?
Other than
Or in a big book?
a big book. That's where your future is, Dave.
Oh.
You nerd. In a big book. Always get his nose in a bloody big book.
You know what he's like.
Oh, Shakespearean. Chapter 2.
Oh, I was pretty pleased with
Matt-
myself that I made it through chapter 1.
Matt, as a high school bully, is brutal.
I know. Ooh.
Chapter 2.
What are you reading there, Poindexter? Shakespeare. Can you explain it to me? We've got a test tomorrow.
Yeah, it's you. You're the jock, Matt.
Yeah.
You're such a sporty man.
Thank you. Wait. Is that a compliment?
I don't know what I'd be.
And
I'd be the. Oh, I know. I'd
You're
be
the drama captain.
No,
mate. We
I'm.
know you
I'm
were.
the pretty girl's funny friend. You know?
comic relief?
Yeah.
What is this in a movie of
No, life.
life? In the movie of life.
Can you introduce me to your friend?
Dave's the sleaze bag.
Yeah. No, Dave's the nerd who thinks he's cool.
He's what was the American Pie guy?
Stifler? No.
No. Yes, I know who you're talking about. Fuck, what was his name? Redheaded guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Gone back in time to change the life of one lucky lady.
Yeah, it's like
what?
Spindler or something like that.
I was also thinking of in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh,
The guy in the AV club or something. Anyway, fuck, stop derailing.
or in Can't Hardly Wait, the guy who's in Buffy.
These are all great references.
Or in Buffy, the guy who kind of reminds me of Chandler Bing.
yeah, no, you're talking about. Yes, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I be any more confused right now?
You don't even get that reference.
No.
Dave, please, do go on.
I want to talk about O-rings, damn it.
Fine.
You're making me hungry.
These reusable long tubes are made up of 4 sections that were put together on launch site and held together by joints, I was
Yes.
trying to say. They are
Oh my God. That's where it all went wrong.
no.
We suck.
The joints are sealed by a pair of compressed rubber O-rings. At ignition, the rocket fires up in under 1/100th of a second. Super quick. The metal casing quickly expands with the heat. The O-rings must also quickly expand to seal in the heat and stop the rocket fuel from escaping at the joint. So
Yeah.
it's basically like a big rubber plug. It keeps all the gases and heat inside the metal tube.
Plug is such a fun word. Plug.
Got anything to plug?
Plug. Love that.
The plug is very important because if any of this heat gets out, it causes a massive explosion. So the O-ring is very important.
Right.
The O-rings didn't have enough data to prove that they would function properly in such cold conditions, and some were worried that the weather would make them too rigid to expand. On the evening of January 27, so the night before the launch, engineers and managers from Thiokol, who are the company that built the solid rocket boosters, held a teleconference with NASA to discuss the weather conditions. Several engineers, including most famously Roger Beaujolais, incredible name,
Great name.
stated their concerns.
Robo
Beaujolais stated their concerns about the effect of low temperatures on the
Robojolais.
stated their concerns about the effect of low temperatures on the resilience of the rubber O-rings, and they recommended a launch postponement. They said, it's too cold tomorrow, let's cancel it.
I'm going to agree with him as a scientist.
Robojolais.
Yeah.
Roy Beaujolais argued that they did not have enough data to determine whether the joints would properly seal if the O-rings were colder than 12 degrees, and it's way colder than that, 54 Fahrenheit for people overseas. This was an important consideration since the O-rings had been rated as critically one, or a critical one component, meaning that there was no backup if they failed, and their failure could destroy the orbiter and kill its crew. So there's like a scale, and this is like a number one thing. So we can't fuck with this, because if this goes, it all goes. Roy Beaujolais had first written a memo pointing out the dangers of the cold weather on O-rings the year before in 1985, but he was ignored. Beaujolais had discovered on examining a booster from the Discovery shuttle that the O-ring had been badly burned and was less than 1 millimeter away from burning through completely. Like so close. If it had burnt all the way through, it would have exploded. His theory was that this was because because of the cold weather on the day of the launch in 1985, where it was 11 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees warmer,
Yeah.
actually 12 degrees warmer than on the day of the Challenger launch. So when he saw they were planning to launch on an even colder day, he started freaking out. And he went to his bosses and said, we've got to stop this.
Oh my God. It feels bizarre that this is even... These stories, you just expect them to be on top of all this stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if somebody comes to them and says, like, we can't do this is a bad idea and here's why, you'd think that the answer would be,
Let's not risk it.
yeah.
Well, you think so? NASA protocol requires all shuttle subcontractors to sign off on any flight. And the night before a launch, they have a go/no-go telephone conference. So if Thiokol
So Robo was in the no/no-go on the O rings?
That is so good. Loved it.
I say this often because it keeps happening. It's just like one thing after another. But I have never been prouder of you.
Just waiting. I'm waiting for a real roast there.
Yeah, was that a takedown?
Nah.
Or no, it was like, that was praise.
That was great. That was so good. Matt, that was so good.
I'll be playing that at your funeral. Matt, can I just say, you
Matt!
are so cool.
That was so great.
I'm being bullied by the nerds.
I'm praising you.
And the nerd's hot friend's friend. I'm not friends with a hot girl. I know her
acquaintance.
from primary school.
Yeah. Our mums were friends.
Yeah. Hi, Justine.
Oh, that means you're the boy next door then.
Yeah.
That's good. She ends up with you.
Yes.
Even though
I end up with someone.
Even though you're ugly and
Thank
a
you.
bit nerdy
Well, more than a bit.
and socially awkward,
Oh, what?
but you got a heart of gold.
Could have cut it out.
Oh, okay. It's a horror flick. Got it. All right, sure.
So they're having the go/no-go teleconference. If Thiokol didn't give the go-ahead, the shuttle couldn't take off. So all the subcontractors have to say, yes, it's safe. So Thiokol recommended to postpone, but NASA heavily questioned their recommendation. They told the manager of Thiokol that their data was inconclusive and that they shouldn't be bringing this up the night before a launch. According to Beaujolais, Lawrence Malloy, who was head of NASA's rocket boosters division, said, "My God, Thiokol, when do you want me to launch? Next April? Why are you guys trying to come up with launch commit criteria on the eve of the launch?"
It is weird that they're bringing it up very late. So they didn't tell them about the O-ring nearly burning through?
So nothing had happened since 1985 from that memo.
Right.
So the four managers of Thiokol put the teleconference on hold and reconsidered their position. When Thiokol looked like they were changing their minds, Beaujolais claims that he made a last-ditch attempt to make them cancel the launch. He was literally screaming at them not to ignore the photo of the Discovery's shattered O-ring. Despite this, all four of Thiokol's managers agreed to give their...
They were bullied into it by the sounds of it, sort of.
They agreed. They took a vote. They all said, let's go for it, and gave NASA the all clear to launch, which NASA immediately accepted. Beaujolais, Robo, is convinced that they were bullied into giving the go-ahead just to keep NASA on schedule.
That's what it feels like.
According to NASA's own pre-launch estimates, there was only a 1 in 100,000 chance of the shuttle failing to launch. So they were pretty confident that they'd be fine.
Failure to launch.
1 in 100,000.
Wonderful film. McConaughey. Parker.
Georgie?
Deschanel. Etc.
Who's Parker?
Sarah Jessica.
Oh.
Oh, she's been in something good.
No, absolutely not. It's a piece of shit.
Oh, right. Oh, there you go. We're all learning something. Well, I thought I did. I clearly didn't.
Nope.
So NASA got the all clear to go ahead. Takeoff was scheduled for 9:38 a.m. Is that annoying, Jess?
Oh, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It would have been something to do with weather or something, right?
9:30.
9:38.
9:45 I'm okay with. 10 o'clock, fine. 9:38. Fuck you.
I also read that the astronauts got a 6:17 a.m. wake-up call.
Get fucked.
Because everything's like down to the minute and the second with these people.
Oh.
I say
These
that.
people.
But 9:38 was delayed due to concerns about ice that had accumulated in the launch pad that I talked about. Icicles over 1 meter long hung off the bottom of the shuttle. And this caused considerable concern for the launch team.
Yeah, no shit.
There's like legit stalactites of ice hanging.
9:38. That is infuriating.
That's the concerning thing.
Oh, yuck.
Jess, there were 19 icicles hanging off.
You fucking... Even, you know what? Even 9:40 I'm okay with. That's fine. Round
22?
to 10 minute.
20 to 10. That feels good.
22 is fine.
This is not going to get any better. The 7 crew members had breakfast and left the crew quarters and rode the astronaut van to Launch Pad B, arriving at 8:03 a.m.
8:03, and there's 7 of them.
They were in their seats in the Challenger at 8:36 a.m.
Oh, no one cares.
At 8:44 a.m., the ice inspection team completed its second inspection. After hearing the team's report, the program manager decided to allow additional time for the ice to melt on the pad. At 11:15,
They had an ice inspection team.
yeah, that's people's job.
Eat.
11:15, the ice inspection was completed.
IIT. Eat. Anyway, that's my contribution.
At 11:15 a.m., pretty good.
Thank
They've
you.
rounded that up.
Yes.
The ice inspection was completed, and during the hold at launch minus 9 minutes, which is 9 minutes before launch, the Mission 51L crew and all the members of the launch team gave their go for an official launch. The final flight of the Challenger began at 11:38 a.m. and 1/1000th of a second.
Oh, honestly.
11:38, 1/1000th.
1,000th.
It's hard to fucking say.
1/1000th.
So they're ready to go.
Very easy to say.
Everyone's watching on. Finally, go time. The crew counted down and the shuttle lifted off to cheers of everyone watching on. Thousands of people.
Except one
All came
person
down.
in the front row with their arms crossed.
Boo!
Bored.
Within seconds, Challenger was travelling at over 1,500 kilometres per hour. Wow. Engineers on the ground, including Roger Beaujolais, were amazed that it hadn't exploded. He was fully expecting it to explode on the pad.
Right.
He was happy to be wrong about the O-rings.
Yes.
Good. So, but it was more than just him who were concerned?
Yeah, so there's a whole team, but since what is about to happen, he's the one that's come out and been the most vocal,
Right.
written books about it and stuff.
Beaujolais.
Roy Beaujolais, so he's like the face of the, and he, I'll talk about him in a bit. As the shuttle hit the 10-kilometre mark, a severe crosswind slammed into the shuttle, causing it to shake. At 58 seconds into the launch, the shuttle encountered another side wind and was shaken for a second, but then it seemed to steady, seemed to go back on course. At 66 seconds, the shuttle was ordered to turn up its engines to full power to accelerate away from the Earth's gravity. It was all looking fine, but then at 73 seconds after liftoff, Challenger was suddenly engulfed by a ball of fire.
Ooh.
Down on the ground, NASA's mission control was completely stunned. In an instant, they had lost all contact with the spacecraft. Their data from over 2,000 sensors had failed to indicate anything was going wrong, so they were not immediately sure of what had happened. If you watch the footage back, you can hear one of the operators from the mission control saying, obviously there's been a major malfunction, but they're all stunned.
Wow.
Everyone except Roy Beaujolais.
He's kind of smug,
No, he
which
said,
is inappropriate.
no, he
but-
said he was crying and he was so upset.
Ugh.
Oh, wow.
Because he probably still feels somewhat. He probably feels like he could have said something more. Or
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
It'd
actually,
be very frustrating.
I saw an interview with him and he said that he actually had a nervous breakdown following this.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
that is a nightmare scenario.
Oh, absolutely.
He tried. He tried.
Isn't it amazing? They're like, no, we've got a schedule. Yeah, but I'm telling you that you're going to cost yourselves lives and billions of dollars of
Yeah.
equipment, millions probably. It's wild that.
Hopefully, more importantly, the lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's this schedule? Why is it so
Yeah.
important? This is going to be slightly embarrassing if we delay this again for a few months.
Because remember, it's their big PR exercise, and they want this to. The irony is that they want this to go well so badly that
Yeah.
they went against safety
Well-
instructions, and it went even worse than
Yeah.
delaying
I mean-
it a week.
There's no such thing as bad publicity, you know?
True. I hadn't considered that.
Any publicity is good publicity.
On the ground, watching on, were of course the families of the people on board, and they don't know what exactly has happened because it's so high up in the sky, but they can just tell something's gone horribly wrong. On the ground and on the live TV broadcast, people could see the 2 rocket boosters that remained intact careering wildly off course. So we'll probably link to an image of this. So it looks like, this is quite a famous photo, a big main explosion in the middle and 2 trails of smoke from these rockets have just split off and they've just kept going. NASA remotely detonated these 2 rockets for safety reasons afterwards. So they go off for a bit and then they suddenly stop because they were detonated. The debris spiraled and fell to Earth and started to land in the Atlantic Ocean, and everyone on the ground was just praying that the orbiter containing the crew was able to separate and remain in one piece. Suddenly, it was a recovery mission, and ships, boats, and helicopters were immediately sent to the spot where the orbiter was thought to have landed in the ocean. Everyone was hoping that somehow they were still alive in there.
Come on.
The compartment amazingly did stay in one piece during the explosion.
Wow.
However, the crew compartment had ascended to an altitude of 12.3 miles, nearly 20 kilometres, before free-falling into the Atlantic Ocean, and it hit the water at over 320 kilometres per hour.
Wow.
With an estimated deceleration of impact well over 200 Gs, which is far beyond the structural limits of the crew compartment or crew survivability levels, and is actually far greater than almost any other automobile, aircraft, or train accident ever. Sadly, the crew didn't stand a chance.
So, but they didn't. Oh, so like they did. What am I trying to say here? It wasn't even like it was a quick explosion and they were just gone. It's like it was not a quick and easy.
Well, there's debate
demise.
over that. The horrible part, it's not exactly known how they died.
Oh,
Whether it was during the
God.
explosion or when they hit the water. Whether the crew members remained conscious long after their breakup is unknown, and largely depends on whether the detached crew cabin maintained its pressure integrity, because all 7 crew members were supplied with personal egress air packs, or PEEPs, which provide each of them with approximately 6 minutes of breathable air inside their helmets. At least 3 of the crew were alive and at least briefly conscious after the breakup, as 3 of them had turned their PEEPs on the flight deck, so they were found to have been
Shit.
activated. But the PEEP, as I said, is only useful in the cabin if it had maintained pressure integrity. But if it had, which they don't know, they may have been conscious during the 2 minutes and 45-second free fall back to Earth, which is
That's
pretty
awful.
horrible. There was also evidence that switches had been activated in the cabin, like they'd futile, but tried to power up again.
Shit.
Yeah,
That's awful.
absolute tragedy.
And it's such a strange thing to think or say, but like you'd wish that they'd just blown up.
Yeah.
You know, you'd wish that for them.
Yeah, it's a long 2.5 minutes.
Whoa, that's awful.
On the night of the disaster, President Ronald Reagan had been scheduled to give his annual State of the Union address. He initially announced that the address would go on as scheduled, but then postponed the State of the Union address for a week and instead gave a national address on the Challenger disaster from the Oval, office in the White House. So it was big news around the world, but especially in America.
Of course.
3 days later, a memorial service was held and President Ronald Reagan paid tribute to the brave crew. It was attended by 6,000 NASA employees and 4,000 guests, as well as, of course, by the families of all the crew. A thorough presidential investigation was conducted over the next 5 months, and it was painstaking as the Challenger had exploded into thousands of pieces that had all landed in the ocean. Debris rained down for over an hour after the explosion, so the recovery effort had to wait until it was safe before they could start collecting the material. Sonar, divers, remotely operated submersibles, and manned submersibles were all used during the search, which covered an area of 486 square nautical miles, which is over 1,500 square kilometres, and took place at water depths between 70 feet and 1,200 feet, or 21 metres and 370 metres deep. The crew compartment wasn't found until 6 weeks later on March 7th, and it was buried in 100 feet of water. After 6 weeks of being in the ocean, the bodies were referred to as, quote, remains, not bodies. Navy pathologists performed autopsies on the crew members, but due to the poor condition of the bodies, the exact cause of death couldn't be determined for any of them, so it's not sure if they did suffocate up there or, when they hit the water, they died then.
That's awful.
The recovery operation was able to pull 15 tons of debris from the ocean, but 55% of the Challenger, 5% of the crew cabin, and 65% of the satellite cargo are still missing. So didn't get a lot of it. Some of the remaining debris continued to wash up onto Florida shores for many years, including in 1996, 11 years after the incident, when 2 large pieces of the shuttle were found at Cocoa Beach.
Well, Cocoa Beach sounds nice, but the rest of
it did.
the rest not so much.
All the recovered debris from the Challenger was ultimately buried in a former missile silo at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, where it still is today. But you're probably wondering, what the hell happened? The President's Commission, also known as the Rogers Commission, named after its chairman, William P. Rogers, had the 5-month investigation. Also on the commission was Neil Armstrong.
Really?
Willie P. Or
Willie-
won't he? Good question.
And Matt's back.
Hello, Matthew. The commission worked over 5 months, as I said. In their report, they found that due to the freezing temperatures, the O-ring in the right rocket's lowest field joint did not enlarge as they should have, and gases twice as hot as the inside of a furnace were able to escape.
So Beaujolais was correct?
Almost exactly what Beaujolais said. The cold rubber had become stiff, failing to fully seal the joint, just as Beaujolais and many other engineers had feared. The commission compared over 200 different videos taken by NASA and by witnesses on the ground to try and look at the takeoff frame by frame. So it was very painstaking. They found that immediately upon liftoff, black smoke billowed from the rocket booster near the joint that failed, and their findings published that this was smoke from an O-ring burning, which is not supposed to do. But it's all happening so quickly that NASA couldn't see that happening. It burns for about 5 seconds and then stops. Only when you go frame by frame can you notice it. The commission said that as the shuttle took off, a flame escaped from the joint of the rocket booster. This flame burnt through a support that attached the booster to the huge external fuel tank. Like a blowtorch, the gases cut through the skin of the external tank and ignited the liquid hydrogen fuel. The attachment quickly broke free and the entire bottom section of the fuel tank gave way, and this meant that the nose of the rocket booster pivoted into the side of the fuel tank, and it caused all of the fuel to ignite at once, and that's why it exploded. Like in an instant. The failure of the O-rings was attributed to faulty design, whose performance could be too easily compromised by factors including the low temperatures on the day of a launch. The report also strongly criticised the decision-making process that led to the launch of the Challenger, saying it was seriously flawed. They heard that several engineers pointed out problems with the O-ring, but because of the flaws in NASA's management structure, the launch went ahead. Because he'd complained a year before, and his complaint had never been passed on to the right people, which is...
It sounds like the PR department was running the show.
Yeah. They're like, no, we're going to take off. People love this shit.
Yeah. That's a guy
We're NASA.
it's a guy with a cane and one of those old straw hats. Some sort of step right up guy.
Yeah.
He's the one who's in charge.
Yeah, totally. There are a few other hearings. The US Committee on Science and Technology also had a hearing. They found their findings were very damning on NASA. They said, quote, "The committee feels that the underlying problem which led to the Challenger accident was not poor communication or underlying procedures as implied by the Rogers Commission. Rather, the fundamental problem was poor technical decision-making over a period of several years by top NASA and contracted personnel who failed to act decisively to solve the increasingly serious abnormalities in the solid rocket booster joints." So they were like, you really fucked this. To paraphrase, there's been questions over the years as to why the shuttle didn't malfunction on the launch pad as Beaujolais had predicted. Remember, he thought if the O-ring was going to fail, it was going to fail right away and it was just going to go up in flames. So he was amazed when they watched it take off and it took 73 seconds before it
so
exploded.
he would have been feeling quite relieved.
Yeah, he was thinking, all right, it's probably going to work.
Like, I was wrong, thank God.
Yeah. But author James Child re-examined the footage of the takeoff and found that on the takeoff, the O-ring did fail and that smoke can be seen billowing out, as I said before. But then it stops after a few seconds, and he wondered, why did the smoke stop? He posits that it stopped after a few seconds because aluminium residue from the burning rocket fuel actually sealed the joint shut, and that everything went normally until the gust of wind that I talked about that slammed into the side of it. It knocked the shuttle, and it knocked the aluminium out of place, and this opened up the hole in the joint again.
Right.
It's also possible that the O-ring itself did burn and that it melted and momentarily formed a seal in the joint, but then the wind smacked into the side of it, it opened up, and that's when, the flame started coming out. Child's theory is that if the wind hadn't knocked it and that the seal was maintained for just 60 more seconds, the rockets would have detached as planned and the crew would have gone into orbit and no one ever would have even known.
Wow.
So it's likely...
But 60 seconds is a long time.
It had to hold for another minute.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, that is a minute. 60 seconds.
In a lot of ways it is anyway.
It's a minute.
Yeah.
It's nearly double the time that it was already there. So like you say, it is long. But it's likely to have been a combination of many things going badly at the same time, just like in Chernobyl. It was probably a combination of cold weather that made the O-rings less effective, actual poor design of the joints, and crosswind and bad luck that the weather knocked the solid rocket boosters so much that the aluminium or the rubber sealing the joints was knocked out of the way.
What if they'd just gone later in the day? Like, I wonder if it got to a more reasonable temperature later that day.
Or if they'd postponed a week,
Yeah.
maybe this would have been okay. But then the question is, of course, would they have learnt anything? And
Yeah.
Was one of these O-rings destined to fail?
Yeah, true. Was if not then, when?
Yes, but also if that crosswind hadn't hit it, if they'd gone on different weather conditions, who knows? There's so many like what ifs.
And if it did blow up on the runway, would that have taken out spectators and?
Probably not spectators, but possibly ground crew.
Right.
I don't know. I imagine that they probably make people get
They're
far
quite
away enough.
far away, I would think.
Just because it is.
But it could be, you're talking about a huge explosion from so much fuel.
2 million litres.
Yeah, true.
Of rocket fuel. It's like, it's insane. Basically, they are strapped to a bomb.
Right.
And it unfortunately went off. Because by the time they exploded in the sky, a lot of the fuel had already been burned. But if it was on the ground and it went off, it would have been insane. In the long run, NASA redesigned the solid rocket booster joints. They implemented new rules regarding launches in cold weather and built a new system for the crew to escape from the shuttle during ascent. That was another thing people criticised. They had no escape.
Right.
Once they were in the air, there was no way, really, to come back down safely.
Yeah, what would they do now? Like
ejector seat.
Yeah, like parachute.
People
sort of
did
stuff.
say ejector seat, but apparently I read that actually would have been quite dangerous because you have to have a small explosion for an ejector seat to go off.
Right.
So now the shuttles have been retired now, but they made some change that they were able to get out of the shuttle and then they'd parachute.
Yeah.
But it only worked if they were traveling horizontally. So it actually wouldn't have helped because they were going up, straight up.
Right.
So even if they had, this escape tube or whatever it was, it still wouldn't have helped them.
Sometimes, and this is probably at the other end of the mission, a successful mission, you see the tube coming down with the big parachute. Am I imagining that?
Oh, yeah. So so those rocket boosters that fall off, they split into 4 pieces and they have a parachute.
So there's no way of having a backup one of those. I wonder if scientists had thought of these things. They should have got us in. We could have spitballed.
Seriously, the power of spitballing. Honestly,
come on,
have other people to bounce ideas off. Yeah. Hello.
This Johnny Nasser or whatever this guy's name is who makes all the decisions. I reckon he should get a
Johnny,
committee.
get me in there. Come on. Well, they were keen to get a civilian involved. They should have got us involved.
So was the teacher on board?
Yes, sadly, she did perish with the other
Christa?
6. Christa McAuliffe, yeah.
Oh, man.
And sadly, her school was watching on.
Oh no.
Which would have been so horrific.
Oh, so many great names. They'd all be, remembered as heroes in America.
Yeah, so they're all buried in different places, but they have memorials to them. And actually, I'll talk about, there's actually quite a legacy that the Challenger left behind. After the disaster, the shuttle program was grounded for nearly 3 years. In September 1988, the Space Shuttle Discovery took off, and then the shuttle program continued until 2011, so it doesn't exist anymore. It suffered another major disaster in 2003 when the Space Shuttle Columbia broke up upon re-entry, so the other way, on the way back down, and it killed all 7 crew members again.
I don't remember that at all.
Do you remember that?
I don't think so. No.
It was, again, there was a commission, and the findings was NASA didn't learn enough from the Challenger.
Right.
Fuck.
It was similar risk. People had said, I think it was when they were on takeoff, a piece of foam had smashed.
I do vaguely remember
smashed a tile or
yes,
a set of
it was
tiles
just a little
on the
tile.
Columbia.
Yes.
And people had said, should we worry about that? But they thought it would hold. But then it didn't hold. And I think fortunately for them, they would have died very quickly.
It was a little nick and that created so much friction that.
Yeah, the whole thing disintegrated.
Far out.
I do remember that.
What year was that, sorry?
2003.
Right, yeah.
Columbia, yeah. Approximately 17% of Americans witnessed the launch live because of the presence of payload specialist Christa McAuliffe, who had been the first teacher in space. So big news, like I said. Media coverage of the accident was extensive. One study reported that 85% of Americans surveyed had heard the news within 1 hour of it happening. So it's one of those big things like September 11 or, when everyone just knows.
And pre-social media.
Yeah, this is
now
the 80s.
News spreads even faster.
Yeah, but in the 80s, they just, everyone knew. But it is a common misconception, this is according to National Geography, or a false memory that everyone watched it live on television. Most of the major TV networks did not broadcast the launch live. The launch occurred on a Tuesday at 11:39, which when most people were at work, And the handful of people who did see the tragedy unfold were watching it on NASA's channel via satellite dishes, like Christa's classroom. Technology that relatively few people had at the time, or on CNN, which not everyone has. But National Geographic interviewed a lot of people, and everyone remembers watching it live because they've seen all the replays.
Yes.
Pretty much instantaneously.
But it wasn't live,
Every January, NASA pauses to remember the lost crew of the Challenger and other crews lost in pursuing space on a NASA Day of Remembrance. Challenger's explosion changed the Space Shuttle program in several ways. Plans to fly other civilians into space, such as journalists, were shelved for 22 years until a certain someone flew aboard Endeavour in 2007. Any ideas on who that would be?
2007. Wasn't Kevin Rudd. Kevin 07. I feel like I'd remember that.
I do know who you're talking about, and as soon as you say it, I'm going to be like...
That certain someone was a certain Barbara Morgan.
Oh my God, Blabra.
Christa McAuliffe's backup 22 years later.
And she went.
She actually became a full-blown astronaut. She went back to teaching after the disaster, obviously feeling like, my God, that could have been me.
Yeah.
12 years after McAuliffe's death, she started training to be a full-time astronaut. She flew on the Endeavour shuttle in 2007 and went to space for 12 days.
Wow. Go Blabra.
Go Blabra. I know, she did it. And NASA...
She's not so Borgen after all.
No.
Been a bit rough. Oh, no, really?
Nah, Blabra.
See, it's a great ending for Blabra.
Blabra.
NASA stated that she wasn't a teacher that went into space, but rather a proper astronaut that used to be a teacher.
Wow.
Nice. So she's got the life experience.
Because a lot of articles were coming out being like, finally a teacher goes to space. And they're like, no, she didn't just do 5 months of training. She did years of training. But teachers did eventually go to space. In 2009, NASA's Educator Astronaut Project saw 3 teachers, again, normal people, go into orbit.
Whoa.
Can you imagine sitting there, knowing what had happened to the last teacher?
Absolutely not.
About to take off? You would,
No.
in nearly exactly the same shuttle.
I would not do that at all.
Well, depends on what it is, because I'd be like, a couple of years later, I'd be like, there'd be no safer time to go. They would be so anal about everything now.
True.
But then
20
after
years
2003, later. I'd be like, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
Go.
Which was, so when Blabra went, both disasters had happened.
Yeah, so you'd be like, surely now after these 2.
2 incidents. Oh.
I don't like flying,
I love to fly.
so I'm not going to space.
I also don't, when you see them in space, it looks so amazing, but I don't think I could overcome this fear. And
No.
because they sit there on the launch pad for 2 hours
Nah.
before you go.
I would need to pee.
You've got a long time to think about it and a long time to probably piss yourself.
Yeah, several
it-
times.
Is there anything about going to space and like changing you physically when you come back? Like you lose a lot of weight and those sort of things, right?
Yeah, I think they compared two NASA twins recently. One had been to space longer than the other one, and their genetic makeup had physically changed.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. I think when they said when you come back from space, you're taller for a while because you're used to the gravity up there. But then very quickly you compress back down. Like your spine and everything expands when because there's less gravity pulling you down.
Weird.
But then I think it's, within a day.
The weight of the world.
You're back. Yeah. The weight of the the bloody rat race.
Yeah, and you said Earth is your favourite planet. So stupid.
Come on, man.
Changed my mind. The moon is now my favourite planet.
The rat race on the moon.
I'm not a scientist. I should underline that.
You have made that abundantly clear.
But that is the very interesting but very tragic story of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster.
Yeah, there's so much in that.
That was fascinating.
I think that is really fascinating, like just a study of humans and how they deal with stress and pressure. And
you think of NASA, you're like, well, they're the organisation that spend more time, with safety and all that kind of stuff than anyone in the world.
They'd be, not going, we need to make this happen tomorrow.
Even
People are watching.
0.001% chance you think that they'd be like, nah, let's not risk it.
No,
Because like you say, it's extremely dangerous for the people and also extremely expensive, and also the people on the ground, if it had exploded on the on the launch pad, it would have put a big hole in the earth.
Yeah. Oh man. And then I hadn't really considered that, but you're saying how Barbara
excuse me. Blabra.
I'd like to call her Barbara if I may.
Ugh.
Barbara Morgan.
Barbara Morgan, yes.
Barbara Morgan.
Thank you.
Official, a full astronaut, yeah.
so she'd be thinking how that could have been me, but there was a top 10. So there were 8 others.
Or everyone else on that list, I imagine, is
Just be going, oh my God.
And they all did a bit of training, bit of proper audition process.
They must have all, who knows how you take that. You could probably take it either way, but some would have been like, wow, I've been given a second chance. And others might have just been like, it would ruin you. It'd be very hard not to think about that a lot.
Barbara is very brave.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Barbara.
Me too. That's why I gave her a cool nickname. Matt, do you hate me?
No. In fact, I would say I love you, Jespot Perkins.
Aww.
You're one of the best in the biz.
That's cute.
Wow.
Bit clingy.
Dave, well, this report was very great as always. Very great.
Very great.
And
on the scale of greatness,
very great is, I think that's
second highest?
Code Red. Yep.
Code Red.
Just before Code
Brown?
Yeah, Code Brown,
Which
when I'm
is
about
really
to shit myself.
So bad.
Shit myself, it's so good.
And then you got Code Red and Brown, which is when you're shitting blood.
Yeah,
And you
go
are
see a doctor.
hospital immediately.
Call the police.
Because you're shitting blood.
But there's a segment on our show after the report that we love to do. It's called Fact,
Quote, or Question.
That's right. And this segment is, of course, brought to you by and pretty much the whole show is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Basically, anyone at any time can become a Patreon supporter and support the show. If you think it's worth $1 or $2 or a few a month, for example, I spent probably 8 to 10 hours writing that report. I watched a lot of stuff.
Too many hours.
There's lots of. If you're interested, I'll put all the sources below. There was about 20 of them all in total. But if you think the show is worth it and you listen every week, you can keep the show going and also get rewards in exchange. For example, 2 bonus episodes every single month we release just for our Patreon subscribers. You can vote on topics. For example, this one was chosen by our Patreon people. And we also give you a shout out. And some people get to give a fact, quote, or question, Matt.
You're going to find this funny, Jess, but 8 to 10 hours would be low for me of how long it takes to write a report. Anyway.
How many hours do you reckon you're putting in?
I'd say probably on average about 15.
Oh, actually, yeah, now that I think about it.
But isn't it a bit sad that my reports to get what my report ends up being is 15 hours, and he does that in 8 to 10 anyway.
He is good.
I'm just trying to say we love doing the show and we put a lot of time into it.
Too much time.
And then people say, it's just Wikipedia, and you just start crying.
Yeah, no, people do describe that sometimes as comedy Wikipedia or something.
Yeah, God, that's so heartbreaking.
I think what they mean is Wikipedia is like a resource that is people or whatever.
I know, encyclopedia comedy, I'd be happy with that.
Fact, quote, or question.
This week, it's actually our second, because there's only a limited amount of people, obviously, in the world. And also in this section of our Patreon. So we're dipping back around to people for the second time around. This is Joe Smith's second.
These are also the same people that voted for this topic. So I wonder if Joe voted for the Challenger Disaster.
He joded.
Okay,
not my best.
No. I disagree.
So Joe got to give a fact, quote, or question, but he also gets to give himself a title. And some people who have dipped in for their second fact, quote, or question have remained with their original title. Joe has changed his up. Initially, he was the most average American because of his name, Joe Smith. But he has changed it now to Vice President of Malarkey and Shenanigans.
Oh.
And in brackets, we all know Bop is the president of that division. So he's your 2IC.
You've got heaps of portfolios.
Yeah, look, I'm a pretty busy lady.
Snacks and malarkey.
Yeah, I can do it all.
And he has chosen a question. And I probably should have given you guys some warning about this.
I legit thought you were going to say equestrian.
Yeah, he's given us the Olympic event. And his question is, if you all, so I guess this is to each of us, if you all could choose any person ever as a guest on the show, who would each of you choose?
Any person.
Any person.
And they say don't meet your heroes, though, don't they?
They do say that. Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it?
Because immediately I thought Paul Kelly. But then I thought,
the
oh, God.
Sydney Swans captain of the
Fuck you.
90s.
Fuck you. You know that's not who I mean. Fuck you. Oh, I just bought tickets to see Paul Kelly. I get to see him again. Anyway.
Maybe you should tell Joe Smith, who might not be aware of how great Paul Kelly is, who Paul Kelly is. And
Paul Kelly is an Australian musical icon.
And gravy expert.
He is a gravy expert.
One of his iconic songs is called How to Make Gravy.
My favourite musician ever. But I think I'd be too intimidated to talk to him. Like, I'd just be sitting here like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I love you. You know?
Right.
I mean, I already feel that with you guys, but I contain it because I'm a good actor.
I think he'd be great, Paul Kelly. I think that's a great one.
I don't know.
I think he seems really funny. If he was coming in, he wanted to be here.
Oh, yeah, if he wanted to be here, yes.
Well, I reckon if you go for Paul Kelly wanting to be here,
Yes.
then that's a great suggestion.
Wonderful. Thank you.
What about you, Davey D? D for douche.
David Douche.
Ah.
Okay, Davy Duke, like Daisy Duke.
Oh, that's actually pretty.
Or D for W. Davey D.
Davy Dubs.
Anyway, just answer the fucking question.
I'd probably have like it'd be great to have a previous report topic.
Yeah.
And just be like, did I get it right?
And then what would they be sitting in on?
Oh, that's true. That's true. But if you can have anyone from history, I'd love to have someone like William Shakespeare or something.
Oh, yeah. He hasn't said alive or dead. So
True.
You did say anyone, right?
Yeah. Any person, yeah.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be a dog.
Oh, damn it.
Because I'd love to have that first chimp in space. The ones that came back intelligent.
No, I don't think we should do that.
Another Simpsons reference for those.
Oh, there's so many today.
Yeah, too many?
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, probably someone like William Shakespeare from history, I'd say. Because just be...
I'd thank him for inventing my name.
Right.
I'd say, hi, I'm Jessica. And he'd go, one of mine.
Oh, yeah, it's one of mine.
I'd say, fun fact, Will, they shortened it to Jess.
Ah, very good.
Bit more informal. And once
And he'd
again,
be like, no.
once again, thank you.
That's
and
an abomination.
I like your little neck ruffle there. That's fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, can I touch it? You know?
And then give him a little hair ruffle.
Yeah.
Like your neck ruffle, his little hair ruffle you have.
You
Larrikin now,
scallywag.
right, scallywag.
How about you, Matt?
I want to say, I think I guess I would have to say Darryl Baldock.
Okay, I'm
I'm
drawing
have
a
a guess.
drawing a blank here.
Yeah.
Saints player.
Yes. What, in particular-
1966.
Captain.
Yeah.
So, and I'd get him in to do a report on that fateful day.
Because you'd want to just sort of close your eyes and just picture it.
Darryl the Doc Baldock.
I think I'd enjoy that. Him
Yeah, that would be
telling
cool.
you how it was back then. That'd be
One
cool.
of the heartbreaking facts, but one of the sort of iconic facts about that was that the tradition back then was to swap Guernseys with the opposition. So he's holding up the Premiership Cup, the only time a Saints player ever held up the Premiership Cup wearing a Collingwood jumper.
Oh.
No. Wow, I didn't know that. That is awful.
Yeah, so I'd love to. I wonder if he put any thought into that beyond. But anyway, that's who I'd go.
Another thing we like to do on the podcast as well for our Patreon listeners is give them a little bloody shout out at the end of the show.
A little pat on the back.
pat on the back and a big old smooch on the cheek. Say, oh, thank you. And sometimes a little pat on the bum if we've had a couple of white wines.
Oh, okay.
Which we haven't.
I was saying the other day I was at work and I was like daggy dancing and I was like, look, I'm doing mum dancing. And then I was just being a mum like, oh, I've had a white wine. I just kept hitting everybody with the back of my head like, stop it. Oh.
Do you know any mums who are like
I don't do any work. That may shock you.
I reckon my daggy dancing and my regular dancing are pretty similar.
Very similar, yes. I was dancing is what I was saying.
I was dancing and talking about being a mum.
Ooh, I'm kooky. I'm going to be the best daggy mum ever. Not a very good parent.
But a great daggy mum.
I'm going to embarrass the shit out of those kids. Anyway.
And we also we normally do a game as well.
Yeah, what are we
Yeah.
thinking?
Oh no.
Could we name their shuttles?
Yes, great one, Dave.
Challenger, Enterprise,
Yep,
Atlantis.
great.
These are the
Buzzwords. They're going to be buzzwords.
All right, cool. So what are they traveling on?
Can I kick off?
Please do.
Here by thanking from Hoffman Estates
Ooh.
in Illinois,
Oh wow.
I believe. IL in the
Illinois,
US.
baby.
I think this is all-time great names. This would be top, right up the
All
top.
right, hit us with it.
Nathaniel Gingrich.
Oh, shit, son.
Oh, that is great.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Gingrich.
That's a
I like that.
belter of a name.
And that Nathaniel would be traveling on the
Raptor.
Raptor.
I like it.
Well, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? The Space Shuttle Raptor.
Yeah, I like that.
Even though the Raptors are a Canadian team from Vancouver.
Not far from Chicago.
Not too far
Well,
away.
Illinois, I should say. Sorry. Very close. I'm not sure where Hoffman Estates is exactly, but it's not far
From
Well
Jurassic
done.
Park.
from the top of Illinois.
And I'd also thank you, Nathaniel Gingrich.
Oh, the captain of the Raptor.
So good. Oh, captain as well. Wow.
Oh, yeah,
Captain
please.
Gingrich, reporting for duty.
Oh, that sounds good. Captain
Holy
Gingrich.
shit, yes.
Sounds really good.
I believe him. It's another great name, but this city name is so good. Christopher M. McAuliffe.
Very good.
Which is the same name as Christa McAuliffe. That's exactly the same spelling.
Christopher McAuliffe.
No, Christa McAuliffe, the
Really?
teacher that was on board
And
the
this
Challenger.
is Christopher. Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, if she's a relative of yours, holy moly!
Yeah.
It's a hero's relative here from Snohomish in Washington. Christopher
but could
M.
Could
McAuliffe.
Washington be the shuttle name?
Oh, like George. What about George?
Yeah, that's
George.
better. Sorry, George.
Space
is
Shuttle
better.
George.
Yeah, better
George.
than Washington.
Here, hey there, Georgie boy, flying through the sky so fancy free. Another Simpsons.
Oh, so
Hey
good.
there, Blimpy boy.
But also the Seekers, a wonderful Australian band.
Amazing that they got reference on The Simpsons.
Started in
Was that
Geelong.
their original song?
I think.
Amazing. Christopher M. McAuliffe.
Wow, thank
Sorry
you.
for calling him McAuliffe.
Just looking up Snohomish, not very far from Seattle, which we hope to get to one day, and the Patreon is powering us closer and closer.
Yeah,
so.
we want to get some of those tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
Well, maybe I hear the calling. Dave, would you like to thank some people?
All right, I would like to thank very, very much. Now, this is more of a company, a collective, than
An individual.
not an individual, but a team effort. I would like to thank from, am I saying this right? Eliminate
I've never heard of that.
in Victoria, right here in Australia.
I'm sorry.
Big supporters of comedy in Victoria from OCR FM, the community radio station, LOL Radio.
All right.
Well, radio.
Out of Colac. I'm wondering if Eliminate is Colac suburb potentially. That's
that makes
Is that
sense.
Joff?
that is Joff. Yeah.
Joff.
Appreciate all your support.
And
to-
Tyson.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. So maybe that's LOL Radio together supporting Melbourne and Victorian comedy. So thank you very much. Now, LOL
guys.
Radio, those dudes, what shuttle are they flying on?
Laughter.
Oh. Chuck.
Humour?
Chuckle?
You prefer humour? Chuckle. God, you are on fire today.
The Space
yes.
Shuttle Chuckle.
The Chuckle
I
Hut.
love it.
They're in the Chuckle Hut.
I love it. It's got tiki torches for some reason.
Oh, legends.
No bad ideas.
Well, that could be it.
No bad ideas.
Okay.
They're not lit.
Just, yeah, okay.
Fake.
Okay.
They got like
sure.
cellophane in them, so it looks like fire.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, now you're on board.
Oh, that is awesome. Thanks so much to LOL Radio. And you
That's
can
great.
check out LOL Radio's interviews with comedians. Each week they play 2 hours of comedy, song, sketch, and stand-up from 5 to 7 on OCR FM, the community radio station. It's also, you can download it on Whooshka, the podcast of it. So
Whooshka.
support the dudes at LOL Radio like they support us. Thank you very much.
At some point, I was the record holder for most interviewed.
Oh, well done.
legend.
I don't know if I still hold that record. And that counted because it dropped out mid-interview one time, so that counted as 2.
Nice.
Yes.
I did it.
Well, they had to dial you back up.
Yeah.
Matt, you still there?
After the song, that's a fresh IV.
That starts again, baby.
Do you have to start, They had
Yeah.
a planned interview. Start again.
Yeah,
Anyway, Matt,
something.
we've already asked, but how'd you get into comedy?
I know we covered this.
I'll take this one.
I'd also like to thank from Launceston in Tasmania.
Tassie.
No, I definitely recognise this name, so maybe we get a bit of a correspondence from Hannah Scollard.
Hannah Scollard from Lonnie. Great.
Oh! I've got it.
What is it?
The shuttle. It's called Scholar.
The Space Shuttle Scholar. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's all about discovery and learning.
Yeah,
and
they'd
shit.
actually go with something like that,
Yeah.
wouldn't they?
The
Scholar.
Scholar's great. I was thinking Flying Apple because of Tassie, but that's
Mine's
better.
much better.
Yep. The Flying Apple. Picture it. Someone's just thrown an apple through the sky. Huh?
Have they thrown it or have they piffed it?
Piffed it. Yeah, you don't throw an apple, you piff an apple.
Piff an apple. Come on, mate.
A big shout out and thank you to all of our Tassie listeners. We do hope to get there one day. I did notice after we announced the UK tour, someone tagged their friend and said, like, lol, they fly to the other side of the world before they come to Tasmania.
Aw, sorry, Tassie.
If you would like us to come down,
I was in Tassie.
Matt was there very recently, but if you'd like us to come down, basically, we look at where the downloads are coming from and then we go to those places. So
Yeah.
if you're from a smaller place overseas or from Tasmania, Adelaide
Spread
or
the
Perth, for
love.
example, get some friends to download the show. We see a spike and we go, there's people there. We're going to go.
Totally.
We are total.
We're like moths to
sheep.
the flame.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
better. Fuck,
We're like
that's-
sheep to the flame.
Yeah.
lamb.
So a lot of pressure there, Hannah, but please organise your island of people to
There's
listen to our podcast.
Heaps of you, Hannah.
And if you're looking for comedy in Launceston, there's a monthly room there called Fresh Comedy, which is so good. They get biggest acts in Australia down there. So go there
And get some lols.
and tell them to bring us down.
Can I thank some people?
Please do, Jess.
Thank you.
Bring us home.
I would like to thank from Riverstone, New South Wales, just north of where we are, quite a bit north, Blake Fishburne.
Ooh.
Oh. how
Blake's
about-
a great name.
Blake is
Fishburne is great.
Yeah.
Well, how about the Morpheus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Fishburne?
Yes, very good.
Great actor. I mean, Morpheus, the Space Shuttle Morpheus sounds pretty cool.
Or,
Oh, yeah.
or the Red Pill.
I'm going to go with Morpheus.
Thank you.
Morpheus totally sounds like a spaceship name.
The Space Shuttle Red Pill.
no, the Space
Brought to you
Shuttle.
by...
The Space Shuttle, the Red Pill.
I love it.
Which one's the good one? Which one's the bad one? And which one's the MRA one?
I don't know. I cannot remember.
So thank you very much, Blake.
Thanks, Blake.
And can I also thank from Langrange? What's GA?
Georgia?
Georgia?
I think it is Georgia.
Is it in the US of A?
US of A. Yes, that's correct.
Got Georgia on my mind.
GA.
It's Georgia.
Georgia, well done. I would like to thank Rory Hicks.
That is it.
I love the name Rory.
That's a
That
badass
is a great
name.
Great.
Every name again tonight.
Yeah, killing it.
All killer.
Absolutely.
Rory Hicks.
Rory Hicks.
Bosun. The Bosun Blues.
Oh,
Bosun.
the Space Shuttle Bosun Blues.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's a
Wow.
That
close.
nice.
Higgs Bosun Blues is a Nick Cave song.
Oh, right. I thought you were...
Which is, the Higgs
Freestyle.
Bosun, but yeah.
The Bosun Blues... Take the Bosun Blues pill? Space Shuttle Bosun Blues pill?
I mean, I know I said no bad ideas, but oof.
Yeah, let's give him something better than that.
I think they're with the bosun.
the bosun.
Space Shuttle Bosun, because that's a scientific word, so they'd
is.
probably bloody love that.
Yeah, but it was all about accelerating things into each other.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't like that.
Well, I mean, we accelerate it into the sky.
What about
that's right.
what about the bad seed?
I don't know if they'd call anything bad. The good seed.
Good seed.
Space Shuttle Goodspeed. Godspeed?
Godspeed.
Godspeed.
Nicolas Cage / Nick Cave. It's all come back together.
all come together.
Godspeed was his character. Was Nicolas Cage's character's name in
The Rock.
In The Rock. The Rock.
The Rock.
There we go. Call it the Rock.
Space Shuttle The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock.
He's got a picture of Dwayne The Rock
And
Johnson
Yeah.
on the side.
And his the People's Elbow. The People's Elbow.
Oh my God! Stop.
Let's call it the People's Elbow.
Oh.
Just imagine, and it's in the shape of Dwayne Johnson's elbow, just flying through the sky, and it lands down
they're like-
on like Shawn Michaels' head or something.
Nothing could possibly go wrong this time. Oh, that's funny.
All right, we'll enjoy that, Rory.
Rory Hicks, and thanks to everyone that supports the show at Patreon. You can do so at any time. Patreon.com/dogoonpod. Or you can get in contact with us. All the links are on our website, including tickets to shows and all the like. DoGoOnPod.com is that place. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're at DoGoOnPod. And YouTube. We're talking about putting up some more content up there, including recently we released another live episode from the Melbourne Comedy Festival that we filmed.
So there's at least 4 videoed live episodes up there now, going back to the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, with Nick Mason, that one.
And then also episodes from this year as well. So
check out our faces.
Yes, check those out. Yeah, we are looking to maybe add some more video stuff. Potentially during our UK tour, we'll upload some sort of tour diaries there. So.
And lots of people say, there's comments along the lines of, oh, it's weird to see their face. And that could be you.
That could be you.
Yeah.
Oh, we posted a video a few weeks ago of some stand-up that I did on TV, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's strange. I'm assuming they meant seeing me in person and not the content.
The material. Oh, God, that was some weird material.
God, that's odd.
Strange take.
There was a lot of very positive feedback there too, Bob. People should check that out. If you follow us on social media, you'll be able to see that too. There's also a podcast out from the people to bring you Do Go On called Primates, and it's a podcast. About...
No, I think it's a podcast.
It's a podcast about primates and popular culture. And Jess and Dave have been on a few episodes each. I've been on every single episode so far. Sorry to brag.
It's the same on this show, mate.
It is true. I'm a real hog.
Get off the mark.
I reckon it's big. It's funnier every week. It's such a fun show. It sounds so dumb, but it is. I think it's a really good show. So if you have been hesitant, maybe just give it a bloody try.
The number one feedback is, I didn't think this would be good, but it's very good.
Yeah.
Why didn't that? As soon as I heard the idea, I was like, yes, genius. I love a niche podcast. Like, I love an oddly specific theme. I love that. Very good.
It is a lot of fun. And we've gone through a bunch of stuff. Jess has been on an episode about George in the Jungle and also an episode about the Marvel character Hit Monkey.
Yeah.
David has been on an episode about The Simpsons and their musical version of
The Planet of the
Apes, and also an episode about Congo. We had both forgotten. And it was the most recent episode we've recorded.
That was, and so much fun.
I've just been listening back to it. Bloody hell, it's funny.
I'd say don't watch the movie. Just listen to the episode because the episode was more fun than the movie, which was terrible.
The movie was a tough watch.
Right.
And actually, that'll be the episode that's most recently gone out. So, yeah, so much fun.
Check it out. I have very fond memories of that afternoon. It was good fun.
It was a whole lot of fun up in Sydney.
Cuties hanging out.
Absolutely. I think we're going to sign off for another week. But yeah, check out all our stuff online. Drop us a line, dogoonpod@gmail.com, or suggest a topic. That's another thing you can do at dogoonpod.com. There's a little tab. You click there, you tell us why it's great, we look into it, and then we make it an episode. That's how the cycle of life goes.
Hakuna Matata. You say Hakuna Matata, I say Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
Ooh, time to go.
All right, thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll be back next week with another fresh episode. But until then, I'll say thank you and goodbye.
Laters.
Hakuna Matata.
Oh. A Gesundheit. Simon Badminton Connell.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.